welcome back to Japan and to our WAC weekend where I will be checking out This Is EMPiRE Sounds by EMPiRE. As always, if you want to see the reaction that I just did to this, pause this video, click the link in the description below and you can join me in listening to the song for the very first time. And if you've already seen that or if you've already heard the song and you just want the review, here it comes. Ready? All right, so this was pleasantly different from the ones I've heard from them before. Kind of reminded me a little bit more of the very first song that I heard by them. As always, I don't remember song names. However, it kind of had that dancey quality again. Definitely, the video was very much in keeping with the song in that in some ways. I mean, the video felt like it was going for a real 80s thing. It had that Miami Vice thing, which I believe was the 80s. It had the whole, yachts. Yachts are super cool. Here are lots of silvery, reflected-looking fonts used for all of the stuff. People walking away from explosions, old-school action movie style, although I guess it's a bit of a 90s thing as well. It really felt like, like I said, I was waiting for it. If anyone's ever seen it, if you haven't seen it, by the way, you should definitely check it out. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. A short movie that was done on YouTube, and it got quite a lot of spread, called Kung Fury, which was a rip on all of those 80s movies. Beautifully done to look as cheesy and 80s as possible and played all of the tropes just wonderfully. This felt a lot like it was doing that. It was going with a very sort of hammy approach to those sorts of things, right down to the slightly VHS discolored looking video. So you could tell that the people who did the video really clearly got the tone of this song and they understood the direction this song was going in. And it did feel kind of old school, but to me it actually felt more like a 90s song than an 80s song. I think I get the feeling the video was definitely supposed to be more 80s, but the song to me felt a lot more 90s. It reminded me of things like Trouble by Shampoo, the Scottish band BIS, B-I-S, not the WAC band, the Scottish band BIS. Maybe stuff like Elastica to a certain degree. Again, things like Republica, who I've mentioned before in some reviews recently. It had that vibe of having, okay, we're going to get a real simple but effective, efficient riff going. And then, just have kind of like a almost shouted group, kind of like a group of school kids shouting sort of vibe. Like I say, again, reminding me of things like Shampoo. It was that sort of vibe, and that's a very 90s thing. And right down to the point where, like I say, they rely on that simple riff so much that they usually don't even have a bridge. You just go back to the riff. You sort of break down for a second, back to the riff, final chorus. It did that as well. It felt to me very much like a love letter to those sorts of trashy but usually extremely addictive 90s pop rock songs, and it did it fantastically. If that was the writer's intention or the producer's intention, they pulled that off really well. But in a similar style to those songs, it has incredible replay value for a short while, and that replay value turns into irritation. There becomes a point where you've listened to it like the 20th or 30th time and then just suddenly go, this has suddenly turned from being really catchy to really intensely irritating. And I felt like this is a song that could probably do that quicker than a lot of the classics. Like I say, looking at things like Trouble by Shampoo and Ready to Go by Republica and those kinds of songs. This felt like this could probably become irritating a lot quicker because it was, a hallmark a lot of those songs is that they're quite short. Whereas this was, coming up for about 4 minutes. So yeah, that's really the only negative I've got to it, is it didn't really feel like, it felt like it was really good at its core, but it didn't knowingly address the fact that it could become irritating. Like it didn't, in the second verse, they could have done something a bit more different and interesting to stop it just sounding like a repeat of the first verse. They could have added, as a lot of, like I say, those songs that I'm thinking of do in their final crescendo, they add extra vocals over the top. They just sort of like start cramming more things in to crescendo it out, just sort of start pouring more in. And it usually works quite well, even if it's just some like extra backing vocals or just like a harmony or something here, or just like as is often the popular one, a screaming, wailing guitar, which again would have worked really well with the tone. There's a lot of things that I think they could have added to this to make it more more interesting without taking away from the core energy, making it more varied without taking away from the core energy, and giving it the ability to stand up to replay value. I'll use, again, because I think it's a really wonderfully, although extremely dated, really wonderfully produced song. I'll use the Ready to Go by Republica reference again. The last chorus of that song goes on for a lifetime, and there's just like the one line being repeated over and over again. And it doesn't become tiresome as quickly as you would expect. And I think the main reason for that is because they build to it with such a sense of, they build it up as such a dramatic thing. And then all over the end, there's like a ton of sound. You don't really notice it, but there's a lot of like production in the beat. And there's all these sort of wailing guitars and screaming sounds and stuff like that. And it's just layering it on. And this is not exclusive to this. I mean, if you look at songs like Hey Jude by the Beatles, same thing. Gets to the end, they just start layering it up. It doesn't take away from the core. They just start throwing more things. Just any old sound. Have some people in the background screeching along. Doesn't matter. Just add sounds to it. It's a very cheap and easy way, and a very effective way to take a song that has a really good, simple core and add to it without doing anything so musically written to affect it, to detract from what's going on. So I just felt like, maybe this comes more down to the producer and the writer. The producer could have thought a little bit more about something to thicken up the ending of the song. However, these are sort of small complaints. I mean, basically, like I say, I liked the tone of it. I found it catchy. I found it fun. The feeling of it was really cool. The video was playful as well, and joined in really well. I like the bit at the end where suddenly just the blue screen or green screen just disappears and goes away. This was something where it had a lot of the charm and likability and the things that I have enjoyed so much about Bish, which I think have kind of brought me to the decision that doing this whole Whack weekend was a good idea. However, I think maybe the difference I can see between this and Bish is that if Bish's people had done this song, well, actually, they're probably the same people. However, if Bish were approaching something like this, I get the feeling there would have probably been more detail thrown in. The attention to detail level would have been higher. However, like I say, I enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to be listening to this again. It's a fun little romp. I just don't think it's going to stand the test of time as well as I would like it to, because I kind of like this kind of thing. Makes me feel nostalgic. Anyway, those are my opinions. As always, get in there, tell me your opinions in the comments. Try to justify them so we can build up a little bit of a conversation. It's nice to know what you think, but it's also nice to know why, because all opinions about anything creative are subjective. You can like, subscribe. You can follow any of our social medias by clicking the other links in the description below. And there's a lot of discussion with our followers about all kinds of Japanese music, so it's a great place to have a chat with all of us. And as always, a massive thank you to our Patreon supporters for keeping me alive and this beer in my hand. It's really great to have you guys doing that, and thank you to anyone else who decides to join as well. But thank you primarily for making it through to the end of this video, and hopefully until I see you in Japan soon for the next one. For now, ciao ciao.